Okay, well, let me go on to another issue that's gotten a lot of attention lately, and that's voter ID for voting. Currently, Minnesota, in my opinion, has a pretty weak standard when it comes to voter ID. What's your opinion on having to show a picture ID when you go vote?
Well, I think that's a very important issue that we need to bring up. I always liken this to the card check initiative that unions are going through right now. Um, they're for it on one way and they're against it in another, and maybe it's not a complete comparison, but everything you do in our society, if you write a check, you have to show ID. If you sign a contract, you need to show ID. If you get hired at a place, you have to provide proof of identification. Why would you not have to provide proof of identification in order to vote? I mean, this is something, we're talking about suffrage here. People have died in this nation over the course of our history for the right to vote. It's been a huge deal. And so why would you intentionally allow people that you know are not citizens of this country to go and vote? That's astounding to me.
Probably because of who they're voting for. I'm just guessing.
I wouldn't be able to conjecture one way or another,
Yeah.
but I can tell you that if you look at statistics, it'll tell you a tale.
Yeah.
So I'm very much in favor of having to show your ID when you go and vote. There's some people out there that say, well, I don't drive a car, so why should I go get an ID or go get a driver's license? Well, you don't have to get a driver's license, but you do have to have something that proves that you are who you are, with a picture on it that has been sponsored by the government that we spend to keep the peace and provide for the common defense and things like that. So.
Okay, well, we're running out of time. I got one more question for you.
Okay.
One of the big issues for me in this state is welfare reform. A lot of, I have friends who work for the county and all that, and they tell me I can't work there because of all the people who come there within 30 days. They're on some sort of government assistance, and you listen to the Democrats talk, and there's no waste in government. There's not one area that doesn't waste one nickel. How big an issue is changing the way we do welfare? How big of an issue is that to you?
Well, I think that anytime you start talking about reform of any type, people really, really start to get nervous. And I think the reason that they get nervous is because there's people out there that are taking advantage of the system. There's people out there that are most definitely of able mind and body that should be choosing to provide for themselves and their families rather than letting the state do it for them. I don't think that, I think one of the biggest things that makes this country great is the fact that we do take care of our own. I don't think that eliminating a Health and Human Services Department or a welfare program altogether is the right answer, because I do think that those programs provide very, very necessary facilities for people who are down on their luck or who might need some help for a small period of time. But to look at families and groups of people that are second and third generation welfare, I'm telling you that that's not the answer. So I think that what we should do is we should really try to find an independent auditing process that we can truly call an independent audit process rather than a partisan auditing process. And I think that once we do that, we'll start to find some of that money that falls into the nooks and crannies and then falls down into the wormholes in space that we know that have to be out there. Look, folks, it's not about trying to do people wrong and trying to tell them that, hey, you can't have a leg up when you need help. What I'm talking about is if someone is of able mind and body and they're able to go out and work for their own living and provide their own living, I don't see why we should have to do it for them. I don't understand that at all. And that's part of the way that we think in this country. That's part of where we come from. The Calvinists that came over here in the beginning were very big fans of working hard and then reinvesting the money that they made back into their business so that they could create something for their children and their children's children to use and work and live. And so instead, I think we've gotten away from that, and now we've got some people in our society these days that feel like they're owed a living or an income, and I don't see that. I see folks that won't go over 20 hours a week in their part-time job because then they'll lose their government subsidy. I see people who are oftentimes great employees, but they've decided for whatever reason that they don't want to go full-time because they'll lose that government subsidy, and it's a scary thing for them to actually be responsible for their own welfare. So.
Goodness, the dependency class, it just seems like it does nothing but grow. All right, only a couple minutes left here. Mark, I want to give you one more chance to give a closing argument for yourself and tell people your website, where they can find you and where they can see you upcoming and get a yard sign and do all that stuff, help you get elected.
Absolutely. Well, my website is www.martinforhouse.com. I've got my Twitter, I've got my Facebook on there, so if you want to get online and check me out, there's also a donation button on there if you'd like to contribute. One of the biggest things I want to let people know is there's a reason for why we have a budget deficit right now, and it's not because we don't take enough taxes. We're the fourth, well, income tax is sixth, but business tax is fourth highest tax state in the nation. So it's not that we're not collecting revenues, we are. We're spending it poorly. We're not doing a very good job of knowing where the best bang for our buck is going to come from. And so I think in that situation you see a lot of wasted money. You see a lot of situations where people are getting, pork and kickbacks, and they don't want to see that go away. And so in order to do that, you really have to come in with a good scrub brush and find out where all that money's going and clean out the cracks and crannies and find out exactly what it is that we're spending our money on. And I think that once we have an opportunity to do that, you're going to see that we have plenty of money. As I said before, if we do nothing, we're going to end up with $33 billion this next biennium, and that's a lot of money. It's a lot more money than some states out there, and they're not spending as much. And I hear a lot of people say, the reason that we're so successful is because we do spend the money that we spend on education, on public programs and things like that. My response to them is, I think that there's a difference between spending an appropriate amount of money and overspending every year that the legislature is in session. And I think that what you're seeing right now, a $6 to $8 billion budget deficit for the next biennium, even though we've had that amount in taxes, that's just a result of poor economic policy, poor spending policy, and that's got to change. Otherwise, we're going to end up bankrupt like California.
Boy, that's a scary sight. We're going to be a cold weather California. All right, well, Mark, thanks for coming on.
Good luck,
Andrew.
To you. I really appreciate it.
And I'm going to be voting for him. He's going to be my representative. And you stay tuned. You keep watching this show, my friends. We're going to have more candidates on as the weeks go by. All new shows through Election Day. All right, until then, I'll see you next time. Later.